She ruled that courtroom like she owned the air you breathed in. It never raised her voice. Never needed to. One look over those tiny silver glasses, and careers collapsed. And for over 2 decades, nobody dared challenge her. Until one morning, when the quiet man in the dark suit walked in, that's when everything cracked. They say justice is blind, but in Judge Bernice Halstead's courtroom, justice wore heels, a smirk, and delivered rulings like death sentences. Folks called it the Iron Bench, because once she got a grip on your case, she didn't let go, no matter what the evidence said. And if you looked a certain way, or asked the wrong kind of questions, let's just say your chances were already buried. But that day, something was different. Even the bailiff, normally stone-faced, hesitated a beat before opening those heavy oak doors. Then in walked Mason Cross, calm, measured, a defense attorney with a reputation for being quiet until he wasn't. And when he wasn't, whole systems shook. But he wasn't just there to defend a client, he was there to blow the lid off something rotten. Across the courtroom, his client, Reggie Banks, sat shackled. A former teacher, protest organizer, father of 2 now facing charges that didn't add up. A confession written after 18 hours without counsel. Evidence that kept vanishing. A prosecutor, Todd Gilroy, whose ambition smelled like campaign buttons and champagne. And presiding over it all, Judge Halstead, acting like she didn't already know the ending. Thing is, Mason did his homework. Every delay, every lost document, every denied motion, it all pointed to a setup. But what really lit the match was a woman most folks didn't notice. Yvonne, a court clerk, soft-spoken, always stayed in the shadows. One evening, as Mason walked past the records room, she pulled him aside, hands shaking, eyes hard. "I shouldn't be doing this," she whispered, handing him a transcript, a redacted conversation. Between Halstead and Gilroy, talking about Reggie before the case was even filed, planning how to break him down, planting the charge, that's when it all snapped into place. Next morning, Mason walked into court carrying a black ribboned folder heavy with memos, sealed communications, and financial trails. And when he stood, looked Halstead dead in the eye, and read out loud the part where she authorized the tampering herself. Man, you could hear the oxygen leave the room. Even Gilroy looked like he'd seen a ghost. She tried to shut him down, demanded a recess, screamed about process and decorum. But the moment was already moving without her. Federal agents stepped in. Yes, real ones, calm, quiet, unstoppable. She was arrested right there, still in her robes. Phones were out, people recording, jaws on the floor. After decades of crushing people, Judge Halstead was marched out like any other criminal. Reggie's cuffs came off 30 minutes later. Thanks to a retired judge flown in overnight, he stood there, stunned, rubbing his wrists like he couldn't believe it was real. Mason just nodded. No smile, no speech. Just one hand on Reggie's back, grounding him like a brother. And as they walked out into the sunlight, Reggie free for the first time in years. Mason glanced across the street toward the Court of Appeals, quietly, focused, because he knew this wasn't the end. See, power doesn't die in one courtroom. It hides in others. And for every Halstead, there's another judge, another nameplate, another game being played with people's lives. So now I gotta ask, what would you do if you uncovered a rigged system? Do you stay quiet, or do you light the whole thing up? Drop your thoughts below. Is this justice served, or just a lucky break in a broken machine? Let's talk.